Bullion refining in India, Dore versus Recycle, Formalization and Innovation. This session is being steered by Mr. Pramod Mohan, Director, FinMet. I'd like to invite our speakers up here, Mr. Ajay Agarwal, the Director Finance for SPMCIL, Mr. Harshad Ajmera, the Director JJ Goldhouse, Mr. James Jose, Managing Director CGR Metalloy Private Limited, Mr. Gautam Choksi, Executive Director Hindustan Platinum Private Limited, Mr. Sadi, Ahmad, Global Head of Legal and Compliance for SAM Precious Metals, Mr. Chandan Rao, Scientist B, Hallmarking Department for Bureau of Indian Standards. Ladies and gentlemen, as I move on, I'd like to start by introducing our chairperson. Mr. Pramod Mohan is the Managing Director and co-founder for FinMet Private Limited and FinMet Technologies, with over 2 decades of experience in precious metals industry in leadership roles like MD and Head Precious Metals for Middle East. He was based out of Dubai, and then MD for APAC based out of Singapore, both for Scotiabank. In 2020, he transitioned into an entrepreneur by co-founding FinMet. He's currently a member of Independent Governing Council set up by UAE Ministry of Economy for the UAE Good Delivery Standard. Shri Ajay Agarwal joined SPMCIL as Director Finance from November 2017, a gold medalist, commerce graduate, cost and management accountant, and Masters in Business Administration HR. He joined the Indian Cost Accountant Services in the year 1992. And moving on to Shri Harshad Ajmera, Director JJ House. He was also the President of Indian Association of Hallmarking Centers for over 10 years, during which he worked very closely with the government on implementation of hallmarking. He is presently also the Secretary of Association of Gold Refiners and Mint. Mr. James Jose is the MD of CGR Metalloy. His laboratory was one of the first ones to be accredited for BIS hallmarking. Mr. Gautam Choksi is a PGP MAX from Indian School of Business and has been associated with precious metals refining, recycle and value-added products since 1998. He has been with Hindustan Platinum for 25 years now. Moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Sadi Ahmad is a Global Head of Legal and Compliance at SAM Precious Metals. Before joining SAM in 2021, he worked as a director at AKW Consultants, where he headed the regulatory compliance, due diligence. I move on to our next speaker. Sadi also holds a master's degree from University College, London. With this, I leave this session in the hands of Mr. Pramod Mohan. And ladies and gentlemen, have a good one.
So I think it's pretty good that we are just moving on from the yellow revolution you had just mentioned into a very interesting topic, which is gold refining. So the choices are Dore and recycled gold. So I have a very power-packed panel out here. So it's very, without further introduction to them, let me just start the presentation. It's a small presentation just to get an outlay in terms of what are we going to discuss. So what are we looking here? We're talking about the government support for the refiners from 2012-13. We have got around 40 plus refiners in India with a refining capacity of around 1400 to 1500 tons. The average industry utilization is only 20 to 30%. 5 refiners account for more than 90% of the Dore import in the last couple of years. MMTC PAN is the only LBMA accredited gold and silver refiner. And then we have got Hindustan Platinum, which has got the accreditation for silver from LBMA and LPPM, platinum and palladium from the LBMA. We have not seen a major consistent inflows, FDI inflows into this particular sector in the last 10 years. The BIS regulation on hallmarking, additional cost for refiners. So it just wanted to get some thoughts from these gentlemen out here. But before, I just wanted to show you that gold versus Dore, the import numbers from 2012. As a percentage, you can see the max we have done is 31.3%. Is when the maximum Dore has come into the country. That was in 2019. In terms of recycled gold, we have seen India is the largest recycled gold market in Southeast Asia and accounts for almost 11% of the total consumption from old gold. The recycled gold supply in the last 3 years has been very high. That's partly because post-COVID, the problems that the average income earner would have faced, and the gold loan companies' default rate were very high post-COVID. So in terms of our main discussion points, I would just leave it out there. So let me open this session by requesting Mr. James Jose, who has been one of the first refiners in the country, requesting him to provide an overview on the current refining scene in India.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you. As you have rightly mentioned, until the COVID lockdown of 2019, the import of bullion and bullion from Dore was practically 50-50. But after the COVID lockdown and the logistic problems, the Dore imports have come down drastically, and it has picked up in the last 2021 onwards. So it is on a ratio of 70% bullion imports, 65, 2/3 bullion imports and 1/3 Dore imports.
Right.
Dore, as you rightly mentioned, is even though there are 44 refineries and 20-25 licenses to import Dore, practically 5 or 10, less than 10 refineries are importing substantial quantities, mostly because of supply side constraints. As you rightly mentioned, as all of us know, the big refineries, they rely on industrial miners. They have long-term contracts, whereas the medium and small-scale refiners are totally dependent on artisanal miners. There are so many problems with the artisanal miners. There are regulatory issues in the country in terms of supply. Then there are financial transaction restrictions coming up frequently. So a lot of regulatory issues are restricting the supply of artisanal miners supply to these small-scale refiners. So that is one of the reasons. It's not just funding alone. And another thing is the funding cost. Of course, sometimes within a span of 72 hours, it may reach the refinery. Sometimes because of regulatory issues and logistic problems, it may take 10 days time. So that all these things make Dore imports often unviable for the small-scale refiners. So you can see a highly cyclical availability of Dore for the refineries, and the subsidies, the price discounts in the market, like what happened from November to February, practically 6 months there was not much of Dore imports because the Indian market was in a discount. So these are all the issues faced by the refiners. And the bright prospects is that the country is having around 30,000 tons of ideal domestic holdings. Even if we channelize 1% every year, 1% is 300 tons.
Right.
300 tons every year, which is easily possible, provided it is incentivized. Some regulatory fine-tuning also. It's a huge bounty for the refiners as well as for the entire stakeholders. Thank you.
So definitely we'll come back to you on how we can tap that 300 tons you just mentioned. So moving on to Ajmera ji, as the secretary of the AGRM, आप जरा बताएंगे आपको क्या लग रहा है डोरे इंपोर्ट्स के बारे में?
2012 से इंडिया में दोहरे बार का इंपोर्ट होना चालू हुआ है। 2014 में 105 टन दोहरे बार का इंपोर्ट हुआ था और 22-23 में अप्रोक्सीमेटली 300 टन का दोहरे बार का इंपोर्ट हुआ। इंडिया के अंदर में 44 रिफाइनरी है, 44 रिफाइनरी है जो BIS रिकॉग्नाइज और NABL एक्रीडेशन रिफाइनरी है। ये 44 रिफाइनरी BIS का जो स्टैंडर्ड है IS 1417 2016 के अंदर में अपना गुड डिलीवरी बार का स्टैंडर्ड के हिसाब से माल तैयार करती है और हॉलमार्क करके माल बेच रही है। लेकिन 22-23 में बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट रहा है रिफाइनर के लिए। उसका मेन रीजन है जुलाई महीना के अंदर में ड्यूटी का बढ़ाना, 10 से 15% करना। जैसे ही 15% होने से ही स्मगलिंग बढ़ गया और ओपन मार्केट और रेट के अंदर में 5 से 7% का डिफरेंस होना चालू हो गया। सेफा के अंदर में ट्रीटी होने के बाद से वहाँ से 15 के बदले 14% में गोल्ड भी आना चालू हो गया। इंडोनेशिया से 0% में ज्वेलरी आना चालू हो गया। फिर लीस्ट डेवलपमेंट कंट्री के साथ में टीटी के हिसाब से वहां से भी 0% में दोहरे बार आना चालू हो गया। तो ये सब डिफिकल्टी की वजह से 22-23 में रिफाइनर के लिए बहुत ही मुश्किल का टाइम पसार हुआ है। और हमारे हिसाब से यदि गवर्नमेंट हम लोग को थोड़ा सपोर्ट करे और कुछ डिमांडें हमारी है जो मान लिया जावे, तो आगामी 3 साल के अंदर में हम पूरे मेक इन इंडिया के अंदर में गोल्ड बार जो इंडिया का रिक्वायरमेंट है पूरा फुलफिल कर सकते हैं। क्योंकि हमारी 44 रिफाइनरी की कैपेसिटी है, 1500 टन से बेसिक की कैपेसिटी है। तो जो अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट इंडिया की है पूरी फुलफिल कर सकती है। इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट को जो नीति आयोग में भी 2018 में भी सजेस्ट किया हुआ था, वही उसमें से ही हम अभी तक वो उसका ऊपर एक्शन नहीं लिया गया है। जैसे ड्यूटी डिफरेंस रॉ मटेरियल और फिनिश बार में 0.65 का डिफरेंस है, उसके बदले 1.65 का डिफरेंस होना चाहिए। बाकी कोई भी कंट्री के साथ में ट्रीटी गवर्नमेंट करे तो चैप्टर 71 को अलग रखा जावे, ताकि कोई भी जगह से लोअर ड्यूटी के अंदर में इंडिया में माल ना आवे। गवर्नमेंट बजट के अंदर में जब भी ड्यूटी में प्लस माइनस करते हैं तो वहां पे भी एक प्रोडक्ट का पूरा लिंक कर दिया जावे। जैसे गोल्ड का ज्वेलरी के साथ में, दोहरे बार, एलोई के साथ में सबका लिंक होना चाहिए। यदि एक जगह प्लस होता है तो सबका डिफरेंस फाइनल हो जाना चाहिए कि यस दोहरे बार का 1.65 का डिफरेंस है। यदि गोल्ड का रेट बढ़ता है या घटता है ड्यूटी में तो सभी के अंदर में वो डायरेक्टली इफेक्ट आ जावे। बहुत बार क्या होता है कि गोल्ड का ड्यूटी में कम बेसी कर दिया तो बाकी का प्रोडक्ट में ड्यूटी कम बेसी नहीं किया, तो उसी के अंदर में माल आना चालू हो जाता है। तो ये लिंक होना बहुत ही जरूरी है। थोड़े दिन पहले जैसे गवर्नमेंट ने गेहूं का एक्सपोर्ट बंद कर दिया था, लेकिन गेहूं का एक्सपोर्ट बंद कर दिया लेकिन आटा का एक्सपोर्ट बंद नहीं किया, तो वो आटा डबल एक्सपोर्ट होने लग गया। तो ये से जो प्रोडक्ट एक दूसरे के साथ में लिंक है उसको लिंक करके रखे। एक में यदि डिफरेंस आता है तो सब में वो डिफरेंस आना चाहिए। तो ये आपका 1.65 टीटी और कस्टम एक्ट के अंदर में 2017 का जो कस्टम एक्ट में कंडीशन नंबर 40 के अंदर में जो मिनिमम दोहरे बार इंपोर्ट 5 किलो का कंडीशन है उसको घटा के 2 किलो का करना चाहिए, ताकि छोटे से छोटे माइनिंग वाले माल भेज सके इंडिया में। दूसरा, माइनिंग सर्टिफिकेट पैकिंग लिस्ट के साथ में होना चाहिए। ये कंडीशन डाला हुआ है, अच्छी बात है, लेकिन उसके साथ में माइनिंग कंपनी के साथ में एग्रीगेटर का भी सर्टिफिकेट और एक्सपोर्टर का भी सर्टिफिकेट अलाउ करना चाहिए, विथ अंडरटेकिंग यदि रहे कि ओरिजिन उसी कंट्री का है। यदि उसका सर्टिफिकेट अंडरटेकिंग मिल जाता है तो एग्रीगेटर का और एक्सपोर्टर का भी सर्टिफिकेट को अलाउ करना चाहिए। अब ये सब कंडीशन में गवर्नमेंट को खाली ड्यूटी डिफरेंस में थोड़ा नुकसान होगा, लेकिन अदरवाइज बाकी की कोई भी कंडीशन में गवर्नमेंट को फाइनेंशियली कोई भी नुकसान होने का नहीं है। और लेकिन रिफाइनरी इंडस्ट्री को दोहरे बार का सप्लाई बढ़ जाएगा और वो स्मूथली यहाँ चला सकेगा और अपना जो रिक्वायरमेंट है उसको फुलफिल कर सकेगा, ऐसा मेरा मानना है।
आपने जो नीति आयोग के बारे में बात किया अभी,
जी जी,
वो 2018 में हुआ था ना? वो
2018 में नीति आयोग का रिपोर्ट में भी बोला गया है कि आप उसको डिफरेंशियल ड्यूटी फिनिश बार का और रॉ मटेरियल का डिफरेंशियल ड्यूटी आपको उसका ऊपर में फिर से विचार करना चाहिए और इंक्रीज करना चाहिए। गोल्ड को एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए भी गोल्ड को भी एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए भी सजेशन दिया गया था कि आप उसके अंदर में चेक करिए। फिर ये सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ ओरिजिन का भी उसके ऊपर में भी बोला था कि फिर से आप विचार करके उसमें चेंजेस करिए। ये सारी सजेशन नीति आयोग ने 2018 में गवर्नमेंट को दी गई है। लेकिन अच्छा, दूसरी बात है कि कॉमर्स मिनिस्ट्री में भी 6 महीना पहले हमारी डिमांड को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया था और बोला कि ये फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को उसने लिखा था। अभी वो 6 महीना में कुछ हुआ नहीं, तो फिर ये 7 जुलाई को फिर से उसने गवर्नमेंट फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को लिखा गया है कि ये एजीआरएम की डिमांड, ज्वेलरी इंडस्ट्री का, ये रिफाइनरी इंडस्ट्री की डिमांड एकदम सही है और उसका ऊपर में आप कोई ना कोई स्टेप लीजिए। तो उसके ऊपर में भी विचार चल रहा है।
अभी तक कुछ हुआ नहीं,
अभी तक कुछ रिजल्ट आया नहीं है। हम आशा रखते हैं कि जल्द से जल्द कुछ रिजल्ट आवे।
Thank you, Ajmera ji. So moving on to Gautam. So can you just give us a brief in terms of what's happening on the silver, platinum, palladium on the refining scene?
Yes. Oh, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for having me on the panel. Moving away from gold, right? If you see what the government did earlier to incentivize gold refineries, the percentage has varied on the incentive of the 0.65 as it currently stands. But they did this so that Indian refiners are encouraged and have an incentive to import doré. I believe silver is also on there. Now, after various representations were made, they also did the same for platinum and palladium, in line with for spent catalyst, import of spent catalyst, they gave a duty differential of 0.65% as well. But unfortunately, I think the government hasn't seen the import duties holistically. So what tends to happen is, while there is a duty differential, not 1 kilo of spent catalyst has been imported under that duty differential by anyone in the country. Reason for this is, the main use of PGMs are for industrial applications like catalysts, which the government allows import of refined metals at 7.5%. So, it doesn't make economic sense for anybody to import spent catalyst at even around 14% when you can import the raw material at 7.5%. So it's just things like this where, we'd urge the government to relook at it, that they should base their duty differential basis, where the maximum demand is. Coming to silver, that's a different story. I mean, most of the silver that's coming in, it's very little primary silver doré that's coming into India. Compared to what's the success story of gold, where about a third of, the gold is coming in the form of doré. In silver, a lot of it comes as the byproduct of gold, but that's only a few tons compared to thousands of tons that India is importing. Now, as Ajmera ji said, there are lots of conditions tied up with the, for imports of doré. And as you know, most of the silver that's mined, the primary is a byproduct of base metal mining. Whereas there are some primary mines for silver, they usually, concentrate the silver to much higher than 95%. It could be 98, 90, even 99. But as long as it's not 99.9%, it still needs to be refined and upgraded. So it's just things like this where, they need to, you can't paint the same policy for kind of what's there for gold, for silver, or for platinum. I'll give you another example. The import duty on rhodium, on refined rhodium, is 2.5%. So it's different, the import policies are, import duty rates all over the place. But for spent rhodium catalyst, it's still going to be 15%. Right? So there's no incentive. I mean, the duty differential should be based off the import duty of the metal, right? The lowest import duty of the metal. I think that would give a fillip to at least the Indian refiners and the PGM and silver refining to actually attract, move even, if we were to move a third of silver imports into the country via doré, I think, the silver refining industry would greatly benefit.
Thanks, Gautam. So moving on to Mr. Ajay, you represent the government mint, and a lot of people would like to know in terms of what are the activities of the government mint, and how active are you in terms of in the refining scene?
It's truly an honor and privilege for me to be here in India Gold Conference and representing SPMCIL. This Security Printing and Minting Corporation, it's one of the most important organization of India, I can say. As I can boast of having each and every person residing in India is our customer. We have got the highest customer base as we are printing currency notes, coins, etc. And just a brief overview of SPMCIL. We have got around 9 units under us. There are 9 units. There are 2 currency presses, one at Nasik and one at Devas, where we are printing Indian currency notes. As well as I am delighted to tell you that recently we have started printing of the Nepalese currency note also. We have got the orders. And then we have got 2 security printing presses, one at Nasik and one at Hyderabad, where we are printing all the postal stationery of Government of India, passports, excise adhesive labels, and all the election stationery, Election Commission of India, and certificates, mark sheets of the CBSE, IGNOU, IITs, IIMs. More than 300 products we are making in non-judicial stamp paper, very, very important, which all our state governments are our customers. More than 300 security items, security printing items we are doing at the ISP. And the first Indian currency note was printed in ISP in 1928. It was established way back in 1925 by the Britishers. And then we have got one security paper mill at Narmadapuram, Madhya Pradesh. We are making all the currency paper and the non-judicial stamp paper. And now India is totally reliant. We are making all the currency paper which is being used in India, that is by us only. Earlier we used to import the currency paper. And then we have got 4 mints, Mumbai, Kolkata, Hyderabad and Noida. And Mumbai is perhaps the oldest mint. It started working in 1813. More than 200 years back.
Wow.
Though after the establishment of the 1813, they started working, and the total construction was completed in the year 1829. Just after 6 years, it is going to complete 200 years of its existence. And at the same place, there is perhaps no other mint in India which is working from the same place for more than 200 years. And Noida Mint, when it was established, it was the latest mint in 1988. It was the biggest mint in the world. Under one roof, no mint in the world was having so many coining presses which the India government mint Noida was having. And the main production is the circulation coins. Apart from the circulation coins, we are making commemorative coins. I am also happy to note that all the panelists, they are being given this commemorative coins which is minted by us only. And apart from this circulation coins, commemorative coins, we are making medals for the armed forces, for the police forces, and the highest civilian awards like Padam Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, Bharat Ratna. These are also made by us only. And we are the only organization in India which is making the standard weights and measures for the weight, for the length, and for the volume. And then other organizations are further making it. Standard weights are made by us only, by the India Government Mint, Mumbai. And the first ever in India, the certified reference material, CRM, was made by the India Government Mint, Mumbai. And it was developed in collaboration with the BARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, and the NPL. And it is identified as the Bharatiya Nirdeshak Drav 4201. And it can check the accuracy of the and purity of the gold. And we are also doing the refinery work. Perhaps this conference is related to that only. Yeah. And our capacity is around 50 metric ton at the moment. And our customers are mostly Government of India customers. We are getting gold from the customs authorities, police authorities, judicial authorities. We are getting gold from RBI, State Bank of India, and all the major temple trusts like Tirupati, Tirumala, and then Shirdi Sai Baba, Siddhi Vinayak. All the major trusts we are getting gold and silver, all the precious offerings given by the devotees to us. And we are also going to be associated with the Sri Ram Mandir at Ayodhya very soon. Already talks are on. So these are our major customers. This is the whole brief of SPMCIL. Just I wanted to tell.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. So coming to Sadi, after hearing the Indian side of refining, so can you just give us some inputs in terms of, as an outsider, one, how are you looking at it? Two, what's the scenario in UAE on the refining side.
Thank you for having me here. Yes, I mean, if you look at UAE, historically, UAE in general and Dubai in particular has been one of the major jewelry hubs since the 1950s. And over the last 2 decades, you would have seen that the bullion trading has played a very key role in the UAE. And some of the reasons for UAE playing such an important role in the gold and jewelry industry is strategic location, an excellent connectivity, so it connects different countries very well. Along with that, you have very nice policies, so business-friendly policies from the government. You have cutting-edge infrastructures in the UAE, which really helps the refining business there. You have smart and innovative initiatives by the government, their custom benefits, their tax benefits, amongst others. It's also a very diverse country in terms of its population. You have more than 170 nationalities that is actually residing out there. So different cultures are meeting. And, if you look at the gold industry, customs, traditions plays a very, very important role in the industry. So, if you look at it, UAE and India have had very close relationship, especially when it comes to the gold and jewelry industry. And we've been working with India for a very long time. So SAM, as you would know, is a UAE good delivery refinery. We are also RJC certified entity. And I heard talking about SEPA, so we are also playing a key role when it comes to SEPA. So I do believe that when it comes to comprehensive economic partnership agreements, so there has to be this industry plays a key role, and this cannot be eliminated from these agreements. They kind of strengthen the trade relationship between the two countries. And I think the relationship between India and UAE is really, really important and very strategic for not just these two countries, but even at a global level. And I think UAE has contributed significantly to India in terms of this industry and will continue to do so. Right. So that's what I think.
So it's a very interesting point that you mentioned. You clearly mentioned UAE, small country, 10 million population, very diverse. And you said the industry is really thriving because of government support, tax incentives, and cooperation in terms of various, the trade pacts that the government has done with the various entities, including India, which comes to SEPA. So one of the critical points that people have been talking about is because of SEPA, this particular year, 140 tons of gold is going to come to India. So is it making the Indian refining industry non-viable? Because on an average, our imports is around 600 to 800 tons, right? So of gold. So of which 140 tons is what's going to come in from SEPA. Still, there is enough gap for refining, correct? So why do people say that it's becoming non-viable because of SEPA or even a 1% differential? Let me start with Mr. James.
See, the yearly target for SEPA import is around 140 tons. But practically the volumes coming in the past 1 year is very less.
Yeah, see, even if you look at last year, as per the data that we got, it's only 8 tons.
8 tons,
correct.
So, and it has mostly gone to the manufacturers.
Correct,
like Malabar
exactly.
Gold and all these manufacturers.
Right.
So it has not come into the bullion market per se. And it has not impacted the bullion price. But we anticipate that it is going to have a big impact. Because the government has permitted us 0.65% operating margin for refining. Whereas the SEPA bullion is coming at 1% discount. So naturally it is going to impact. The quantities, if it is coming in one shot, whether it's spread over a period, if it is coming during the festival period, these are all things that is going to impact the prices. Another thing is that, the Indian regulatory framework is very slow in clearing these consignments. That people are, the TRQ holders, they're a little scared or apprehensive of importing it. Even though there are so many licenses, they have not practically come into the imports because of these issues. So once the imports under SEPA is streamlined and cleared within 24 hours, any moment, any quantity will come into India, maybe in the festival period. Out of the 12 months, we have the 6-month festival period where 40 to 50% of the business is happening. And if it is coming in huge quantities during this period, it is going to definitely affect the bullion business. Because 90, 80, I would say majority of the doré is imported on spot prices and not on consignment basis. Big refiners who have long-term contracts may be importing at consignment basis. They may not be having problem, but small and medium refiners are definitely going to be impacted by the 1% discount of bullion coming from UAE. And that's why we have been repeatedly taking up with the Commerce Ministry. Of course, the Commerce Ministry has supported our argument, but the Finance Ministry is somehow sitting on this proposal for the past maybe 1 year. And we are really apprehensive of the volumes coming in. At the moment, it is not a substantial volume, so it has not affected the market. Even otherwise, the Indian market was in a discount the past 6 months. So it is going to affect our bread and butter refining activity. And as you know, out of the 45 refineries, hardly 5 or 10 refineries are dependent on domestic scrap. And the remaining 10 or 15 refineries are solely dependent on doré. So they are going to be in trouble.
Basically, if you're getting gold at there are different import duties. It's like this when the doré market started. I mean, you had Indian refiners, paying premiums to doré suppliers instead of a discount and getting gold in, and parting away with that part of that incentive, so to speak. Now, on the way in, when gold is coming in at 1% cheaper, even though it may be a smaller quantity, and when it really picks up, there will be two prices of gold in the market, right? Because 140 tons isn't insignificant compared to the whole things, the whole import of 800-900 tons a year. So keeping that in mind, I mean, to get a level playing field, although it's a big ask, but an additional 1% wouldn't hurt.
Okay, got it. So as we speak about refining, responsible sourcing has become a major, talking point, and there has been initiatives by the government. And again, as you are, LPPM approved and LBMA approved refiner. So let me hear from Sadi, being a RJC as well as a UAE GT refiner. So what's the kind of emphasis refiners are placing on these initiatives, and how closely you are working on this?
Yes, I mean, responsible sourcing and a long-term commitment to responsible sourcing and sustainability is something which has become really, really important for refiners. Yes, there are challenges, when you're especially competing with other refiners who are not adhering to these standards. But at the same time, we all understand that if you're looking for long-term competitive advantage, responsible sourcing is something which will play a very, very significant role. So, of course, there are challenges, undoubtedly. When you have to uphold the standards, when you cannot compromise on ethical sourcing, you cannot compromise on the standards. There is a cost factor that comes in as well, because when you are actually adhering to these standards, your operational cost increase. There are, for example, at Sam Precious Metal, we have a team of around 15 people in the compliance. Now that's a lot of cost that goes into, when you're doing site visits, especially in Latin America or certain African countries, it becomes really, really challenging. Also, there is constant monitoring. For example, we were just discussing that since the beginning of this year, we have just been under audits. So almost there are so many different audits that we go through. There are inquiries that keep on coming from these accreditation bodies, whenever there is something in the news. So we have to keep on responding to those. We have to keep on enhancing our systems. We have to keep on working towards improving the responsible sourcing initiatives that we are working towards. It's challenging, yet the value proposition is very high. So we do realize where our thought is going towards, where the world is moving towards. And I think responsible sourcing is something which is the future, and we will all at some stage have to come towards it. To add to that, there is another initiative by the UAE government, which is now mandating responsible sourcing for all the refineries. So even if you're not a UAE good delivery, but if you're a refiner in the UAE, you have to follow the responsible sourcing guidelines of the Ministry of Economy. So that, I believe, would be an advantage for somebody like us who have been doing that for a number of years, that at least we'll have some sort of a level playing field when it comes to responsible sourcing.
Thanks. And it's also important to note that there are 30 plus refiners in UAE. And
Around 40 plus.
40 plus, right? And only 2 refiners have got the accreditation. And also, and definitely there is a increased cost in terms of managing the whole process, compliance, monitoring. But don't you think the government has really provided you the right incentive by giving that CEPA route?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, for us, UAE Good Delivery would just, before the CEPA was not really something which was very, very beneficial. We went for it because we wanted the accreditation. But now with the UAE government negotiating with many other governments and making sure that UAE Good Delivery is the only product which is accepted in such agreements, yes, it has a great advantage to us. So there is a commercial benefit that is coming to us from the UAE Good Delivery, and we hope that the government keeps on working in this particular area, and which will also incentivize other refineries to actually go ahead and achieve UAE Good Delivery. So one of the reasons why you'll only find 2 refineries being UAE Good Delivery is because it did not give a great commercial benefit previously, but with CEPA, yes, we are seeing some sort of benefits there, and hopefully with other trade agreements, we do expect more benefits to come our way.
Thanks. So in India, have you seen something similar, like a refining policy sector, something very specific from the government?
Not sure of the refining policy, but from the Indian side, I mean, since we're not doing too much of Dore, I think responsible sourcing has really caught on, and it's been talked about at every panel so far. And I think if you see that, of course, you need to know who you're doing business with, what the ownership structures. I mean, that's basic and a given. But also, where they're getting their material from, or their, what's the source and where it's from, and of course the AML, CFT, and things like that. To be honest, on the industrial side, it's lesser of a risk because you're dealing with large companies or chemical companies, oil refineries. But I think when you're dealing with scrap, just precious metal scrap, where the source isn't identified, and it's very easy for scrap to be, gold to be melted, and the origin is kind of lost. So that poses a risk. And I agree with him there that it's increased cost of compliance. But if you want to do business the right way, that's the way to go. And I'm sure Indian industry will kind of catch up and be there as government implements new policies around this.
Correct. So moving to the recycling gold, we're talking about how to increase the percentage of the recycled gold coming into the market. So can we look at some models where, especially for older companies, which we have found in the last couple of years, already very high. So what do you think, Mr. James? Is there a way you can get that market?
See, it's highly cyclical in nature, the inflow of scrap. When the prices are going up, of course, people will hold on to their gold expecting further increases. And when the prices more or less stabilize, the general consumers give more of do more of exchanging. But if you go look into the size of the scrap coming from the NBFCs and the gold loan agencies, they are practically controlled by the RBI guidelines on auctioning the gold. When you speak of these volumes, in the past 3-4 years, the RBI has made very stringent rules on auctioning the gold. Earlier, these gold loan agencies could auction their gold. What is defaulted in Haryana could be auctioned in Tamil Nadu. They could do anything and everything. They just sort out their NPAs by auctioning it somewhere and accounting some amount. But in the past 3-4 years, RBI has made very strict guidelines that the gold shall be auctioned at that particular place and the consumer shall be informed, and whatever amount is in excess of the loan amount shall be reimbursed to the consumer, which was not done in the earlier period. Once the gold is mortgaged, it is lost forever.
Right.
But now RBI has made it very stringent and transparent. So these gold loan agencies doesn't have the freedom to auction the gold as and when the prices go up.
Right.
That's one problem. And because there are people from the NBFC industries who are sitting here, I don't want to encroach into their domain, but of course, when there is excess gold, excess cash coming from the auction, it has to be given back to the consumer. But the consumer is always, then the consumer gets alerted. And he will always demand that there was much more money, I need to be paid much more. So those sort of things will happen. So what I understand from Kerala, which is the house of all these major
Big
gold
finance
loan
NBFCs, yeah.
which is the base of all these gold loan agencies. These gold loan agencies will go slow when the prices go up, because they don't want to show huge profits from auctions, which will create other problems.
Okay.
So it is highly cyclical on the prices. Once the prices stabilize, when there is not much of excess money or profit from the auctions happen. So the modus operandi or the ecosystem of gold loan auction has changed considerably, and it is online auction. Earlier, the entire gold was transported to head office of the NBFC, and it was auctioned to 2 or 3 parties. Now it has become very transparent and online. So the inflow is also not very steady as earlier.
Ajmera ji, recycle gold के बारे में आपका क्या राय है?
रिसाइकलिंग गोल्ड मार्केट में रेगुलर आता है, क्योंकि ऑलरेडी आप देखिए कि इतना सालों से 700, 800, 1000 टन करके माल आता है, तो सब पब्लिक में पड़ा हुआ है, पब्लिक के पास में है। तो उसमें से 10% भी आता है तो भी 500, 500 टन तो मिनिमम रिसाइकलिंग में आता है। लेकिन उसको यदि और प्रॉपर वे से एक्वा सिस्टम से यदि रिसाइकलिंग को रिफाइन करके यदि दिया जावे, यदि हॉलमार्क उसमें आ जाता है, तो मेरे हिसाब से कस्टमर को भी सेटिस्फाई होगा और ज्वेलर्स को भी सेटिस्फेक्शन मिलेगी। रिफाइंड गोल्ड के बाद उसको कोई सोचना नहीं पड़ेगा। कारीगर जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग माल करेगा तो उसका भी माल प्रॉपर प्योरिटी का होगा और हॉलमार्क में भी पास हो जाएगा। तो ये, और गवर्नमेंट अभी सोच ही रही है कि हॉलमार्क के ऊपर में बुलियन के ऊपर भी हॉलमार्क कंपलसरी करने का प्लानिंग कर रही है। उसके लिए कमिटी बनाई है, एसओपी तैयार हो रहा है। तो ये होने से और भी ट्रांसपेरेंसी आ जाएगी और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा रिसाइकलिंग में गोल्ड प्रॉपर वे से रिफाइन होके इंडस्ट्री को मिलेगा।
Thanks. I think it's also goes back to the earlier presentation we saw on the yellow metal, how well we can get the gold that's already in the household back into the system, right? So it's all about proper implementation of rules, making it more pragmatic for people to, put it out there and get it back into the system. I just want to ask Ajay ji one last question. So in terms, aapne bola, all your clients are government agencies and others, right? So you don't deal with the private entities, or it's?
No, it is not the case. Even if the private customers are also welcome.
Okay.
But at the time, mostly our major customers are the Government of India customers only. Our whole capacity is tied up with them only. We are getting a lot of golds from the customs. There are more than 40 formations of customs in India, throughout India. And we are getting regular golds from them. And then under the gold monetization scheme, State Bank of India and then RBI, the huge quantity of gold is there. And and even all the temple trust, we are getting gold and silver from them also. But even the private customers, they can also come. Because Bombay Mint was perhaps the oldest gold refinery in India. Initially, when this Gold Control Act was there, the Bombay Mint was the only organization, only mint which was doing this gold melting and refining at the moment.
Okay, thanks. I think we can take a couple of questions from the audience.
Yeah, my name is Anil Kansara. I'm from Ahmedabad Agarwal Refinery Private Limited. I have my colleagues already associated with refining since so many years. I'm not a question, but basically a sort of a solution which you are talking about how to increase the supply of basically recycled gold in the market. And we are talking about GMS in so many years now. 2015, we started GMS. November 2015, the scheme was launched. The amount of gold which is collected through GMS is quite less. The suggestion which you give it to the government, basically there are certain obstacles where the people are not coming forward. When the scheme was launched, it was highly publicized that yes, so many benefits will come. But once the people understood that the gold which you deposit, tomorrow government is going to come and ask you, which is the source of that gold. And that is where I think probably one of the main key issue to tell to the government that please give confidence to the depositor, nobody is going to harass you. As far as the gold, because we know gold is already hereditary, it comes from so many years together. There is gold in everybody's house and they want to utilize it to make some money out of it or probably at a future sort of a saving, the benefits of it. There is one solution which I think probably the recycling will definitely increase in the country. We'll have less dependence on imported gold. We can face the CAD problem and current account deficit and all those things. But India does have potential. 25,000 tons of gold lying idle in the country. We have to bring it out. And then government has to definitely incentivize some scheme where the people come forward and give it to it.
My name is Kinjal Shah. I had the Responsible Jewelry Council for Asia. I'm based in India, Surat. And, the future of Indian gold refining, I absolutely see that we have been all talking about responsible sourcing and all. And we at IGC, we already have created a standards. It's not only the standards for the management systems, but we have voluntary standards for, which is chain of custody, that tells you about the traceability of gold. And in addition to that, the most important provision we have, which is you can add a claim of recycle metal, whether it is silver or gold. So any gold refiner, those who are into any system or maybe with RJC, if you want to claim 100% that you are doing recycled gold, you can definitely join RJC. I'm sure today we have 10 gold refiners in India, those who are a member of RJC. They can just have to add one claim, provenance claim, which is recycle gold claim, and they can give the certificate of recycled gold to their consumers. Why I'm telling this? Because in today's time, if you see most of the major retailers across the globe, they are claiming that they are only going to source, recycle gold and going to sell it. And they definitely have, special privilege, charges for that. They are not going to sell it on a same price. So you already have a business model. You are going to charge premium for that. We have system in place. You just have to follow that, which covers OECD due diligence alignment, which covers recycle gold claim. And that too, it's not a claim you are saying something. It is a claim which has been compliant, certified, assured by third party.
Okay, thanks, Kinjal. So just to wind up, in terms of Dore, based on the conversations we had here, it's very clear that what's required is a level playing ground in terms of when it's coming to duty exemptions, it needs to be in line with what the market requires. You cannot have a disparity in terms of, a particular FTA that's been agreed with a particular country on a refined gold and then a different differential for a Dore. So I think that's one of the points that it's very clearly that's come out on that. On the recycled gold, it's very important to note that with so much of gold out there in the market and with so much of refining capacity, it is all about how to get those gold back into the market. So again, it's more of a policy decision that we require government interventions. I'm sure all the industry members are very active in terms of providing the contribution to that. And probably it's a matter of time in the next couple of years that we have a proper national gold refining policy, which has been India government policy initiative of IIM. We would have something developed and rolled out to the market, which would provide a much more level playing ground for all the refiners. So I would just wind up with my summation with what Ajmera ji had mentioned. He made a very interesting point stating that Switzerland is not a country which has got gold mining. It's purely gets the best gold into that. It's got one of the best refiners in the world. And India can have a similar role, being one of the biggest consuming market, second biggest consumer market in the world. So it's in that particular note, let me just wind the conversation. And it's been a great privilege to moderate this session. Thank you very much. And thanks, audience.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pramod Mohan, sir. You steered it beautifully, sir.